Awesome. Welcome, everyone. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope you had a great weekend. It was nice and sunny here and extremely warm in Chicago. So we enjoyed some outside things. And yesterday we had a great day for the Beauty Connect through Salon Centric and taught some great classes yesterday. So maybe we saw you there. And if you're joining the Beauty Connect today, you can find us in the Windswept cut and color class at about 12:15. That's Eastern time. And so I hope to see you guys there. With that, we're going to talk today about fringe work and mostly cutting, but also going to share with you some styling tips as well, share with you some of my favorite products. And the whole point for today is to share with you some fun techniques that you can use to customize your guest's fringe, as we're seeing a lot of it these days, but also give you some inspiration as we have some great classes coming up that we can dive a little deeper into as well. So first things first, we have 6 core principles that work really well with all of our cutting techniques. And the first one is always cutting with your end result in mind. We always have to have that vision of what we want to see, and then we cut it to mirror that image. We also want to cut in the direction that we want the hair to move. So if I have my scissor here and I'm moving, I want the hair to move to the left and I actually cut it to the right, it's going to flip on me rather than move the direction I want it to. When we say short hair pushes long hair away, whenever we use, for instance, our razor or we use our scissor where we're cutting and walking our shear here, the short pieces help to create a support for the longer pieces. So they help to not only support, but direct that hair to move in the direction I want it to go. Now, when we talk elevation, elevation will soften the outer weight line, and elevation higher than where the hairline lives or hair lives leaves no weight line. So where this would come in handy with a fringe work is if I am elevating my fringe at all, if I'm working here at a 45-degree angle, I can start to soften it. But if I start raising too high, I just create layers. Over direction will create weight and length in the opposite direction. So where this would come in handy is if I over direct and I want to keep that shorter top, I can help to create longer in the opposite direction. And we don't really use disconnection too much in the fringe area, except sometimes around that hairline. For instance, in our Mystique collection, you may have seen us take that shorter disconnected fringe underneath. So it's possible you might see that a little bit, or if you're trying to remove bulk, that may be an option. When we choose the right tools, we look at the type of hair that we're working with. So a straight hair strand is going to be a very round, very sound structure. So we can use a scissor, we can use a razor, especially a razor will help to create that softer end. So we usually will use that when the hair is super straight. As the hair gets curlier and curlier and curlier, we tend to use the scissor more. Doesn't mean you couldn't use the razor, because the razor will still work very well on that hair type. It won't hurt it any. The problem becomes when the hair becomes too soft, and then we don't have enough weight to carry what the look is. So we may choose to use a scissor when we get that curly. And you can learn more about that at our curl certification that we'll be hosting at the end of the month. So on June 21st, I'll be hosting a virtual curl certification. If that's something that you'd like to join in, feel free to reach out to myself or go to my Facebook page and we can get you some more information on that. Some of the techniques we're going to look at today, you'll see me do a little bit of horizontal framing. You'll see me do with our weave cutting. We'll do a little bit of vertical framing or piecing as well. We'll do some sculpting and some weave cutting. Some of the others you'll see more in our core cutting classes, but some of those techniques will be really important here as well. Parallel lines attract closing in a space. So anywhere where I create horizontal lines closes in a space. So If the desire is to open up the face when we're working on fringe work, we would work with things that are going to open up the face, like a nice sweep or a compression fringe to one side or the other, because that's really going to open up a space. Where if I take that fringe or that bang really straight across, we just have to be aware that that could close in a space, or a frame that's really square also could close in a space. When we say space creates lift, wherever I have that shorter area is going to create a lot of lift in that facial structure. So you can see here that on the left side, the eye is lower on the left side than it, or our left, than it is on the right. And so by creating that space up over the low eye, I can create more symmetry. If I really want to exaggerate that high eye, I might take that open space above the high eye instead, and that will open it up even more. So depending on the personality that that guest may have, may be, potentially what you decide to work with. So if you have a guest that is really outgoing, they may want that exaggeration over the high eye, really showing that off. Where you may also have the guest that is a little more soft and subtle. If you want to create that balance, you would create that space over the low eye. So when we section our fringe, one thing that we really want to remember, no matter how far back we go with our fringe, we always want to look at these corners of the side ridge, so right in the front there. And I could take one turn of the comb. It just means that as I lay my comb down, one turn. If I'm here, I'm going to go straight to that corner of my side ridge. But if I want a little deeper fringe, I'm also, as I take 2 turns of the comb, I'm going to still go to that corner. If I come all the way back to that high point of the head, let's say we're doing a curtain fringe or a rainbow fringe where we want a ton of it, we still want to take that corner here into that side corner front ridge. Reason being is if I create too much straight across, I'm going to end up with a very large hole on either side, or both, depending on whether it's a center fringe or a side fringe. So we just want to be really aware of that. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk today is about framing. And when we look at our framing, we're looking at creating a frame around the side and then into the fringe area, and then disconnected on the opposite side. Now this could be really different depending on whether or not you are working with somebody who maybe has a center part, and I can show you that as well. But this would be more of just a frame. There's no real fringe line. It's just a frame that we're working with. So what I'm going to show you, and this is where you may, if you want, you can take the PowerPoint and make it smaller just by sliding the screen over. If you have that capability, I am going to stop my share just so you can see better. But if I'm working with my fringe here, we always start on the soft side first when we frame, then we do the heavier side, and then we'll create a disconnect behind. And I'll explain that even better in just a second. Let me get in position here. So as we work through the softer side, we're working with just that first maybe inch in the front of the hair. And really what this is doing is just create direction and support. So as I take my scissor, I'm going to tip my scissor down towards the face, and I may even turn it in towards the face because the blades are beveled here at 45-degree angles, which will allow me to be able to turn that into the face as well. So I look at the eye line, cheekbone, lip line, jawline is typically where I like to look, because those are the areas I either want to soften or I want to accentuate. If I want to soften it, I'm probably going to work below that point. If I want to accentuate it, I'm going to work at or above it to open it up. So here we'll work with the cheekbone as our guide. We want to soften the cheekbone. So I'm going to work just below here. And what you're going to notice is I really didn't take anything out at all. It's just literally walking that shear. So all I'm doing is I'm making kind of a C shape as I'm walking the shear out. And those little pieces just really help to support it. When I move to the heavier part of the fringe, I'm going to look one turn of the comb. I'm taking it right into that side corner here. And really, I'm not going to be cutting anything over there anyway, because we're just creating that frame. But again, I'll look at the cheekbone, eye, lip, jaw. And so we'll use that same guide just below. And I'm just turning this so that, as you can see the way my scissor is moving, that's the exact support and movement I'm going to create. So it's going to curve under. So you always want to cut that directionally how you want it to move. Now, the next part that we want to create is going to be what we call a disconnect. So I'm looking for the side ridge. I'm going to get that hair out of the way. And I'm going to look for the same guide, which was just below the jaw, or excuse me, the cheekbone. And I'm doing the same thing. So I'm just curving that out, kind of making that C motion or shape so that it just starts to curve that hair around. So you can see as it's going to move, it's going to work. Now, if she were to start, to pull this section behind, she's going to have the same frame on both sides. So where that comes in handy is if you think about the guest that comes in for a wedding or a prom, and you've pulled their hair back and you've gone to take a look at where you're going to pull your little tendrils from, and you have really soft on one side, and on the other side they have these big chunks. And it's no fault of anyone. It's just because there was a frame put into this side, and because they wear it on the side, it was not disconnected underneath, so it doesn't match. So if I was to take this into the side or into the center part, for instance, I would still, let's just say that she is going to be a center part girl, and always a center part because we see a lot of that lately. So I'm still going to take in my center, and I would frame just below the cheek, just the way I did. I can either leave it there, or I can still come in back behind and still frame underneath as that disconnect. But I would just do it on both sides. And that would give them, if that option where they pull it to the back, they're still going to have that nice support underneath. So it's not always all about the fringe, it's about the whole entire frame. So that is one area I like to work on. So let me get back to sharing my screen. If there are any questions, I don't see any in the chat box, but if there are, just feel free to pop them in the chat box. So the next fringe that I want to talk about is a swept fringe. Nice sweep always creates, you can see it creates that space right over that eye here that opens that eye up. Again, opening that eye up. Conveniently, I have them all left side parts here, but you can see everywhere where that split is where that eye opens up, and you can see, really have that poke out. So with that, we have a longer sweep, we have a medium sweep, and then we've got a really nice short sweep. So depending on the length that you want to use will depend on what you want to see. So I'm going to start here with this one, as she's a little bit shorter. Now we can work scissor or we can work razor. It'll just really depend on whether or not what you want to see. If you want to see something that's super soft, you're going to do a razor. If you want to see something that is super firm, you're going to use your shear. So same thing here. We'll start with our scissor, with our razor, because we can always make it firmer. And so I do want to create this nice softness on the opposite side. So I may come a little bit shorter up by the cheekbone. And so I'm going to come in with my razor. So I'm just creating this nice little frame here first, but I'm taking a little more hair out than I did the last time on that last one. So you can see she's got a little bit of fringe that will work here that will be nice and soft coming into that longer. And then when we get up into the top, if I'm just taking that one turn of the comb, you can see right here where my finger is, that's where the corner of the side ridge is. And let me drop this. Sorry, guys. There, now you can see a little better. So with that, we're going to pull everything over to this opposite side. And then we're going to do what we would call swing cutting. So where that little shorter piece is on that right side by the cheekbone is where I'm going to start. And I'm going to start shattering that line to sweep it over. So now I've created a nice soft sweep. Now, if I want to soften that, I can use some weave cutting, or I can even use some wispier action just by using my vertical framing. So here we're going to go in and we take a weave cut, and now I can go in and I can soften it a little bit, and I'm going to move the brazier over so that I help to create more direction in that direction. We can also do that by working with some vertical framing. So that might be just taking that razor in vertically. But see, I'm still moving it in the direction that I want it to go so that I can get that nice sweep action on the other side. Now I can still create part of that frame just like we did on the original frame. So here's my fringe. I will find my side ridge over here so I can get that hair out of the way. And then I'll match the other side. Again, this is mostly so that I don't have this heavier chunk. If you like it that way, that's totally fine. You don't have to cut it. But we're going to soften it just by taking the razor and just working to soften it. So now we've created this beautiful sweep just by, very simply, just by sweeping that over with the razor. Now, if I wanted to do that with a scissor so that it was a firmer frame, I could do that too. So it would just be the same frame as we did earlier, walking that shear. And then I would take that same section that I used to create her fringe, and I would pull it over to the side. And then we would walk the shear over as well. So same thing, just creating a firmer line with the scissor. So sweeping it to the side, and then you have, let's see, let's move into our next one. So here we have more of a compression fringe. So when I look at our compression fringe, I'll show you a couple of different options. So you can see here, this one, her compression fringe is really sharp. So we used a scissor, and we also, if you were to look at this side, it would actually get longer on the opposite. That's so that it can all carry over to the opposite side. So just like you see that middle picture, if you, right where my cursor is, you can see it's sharper here, but that hair sweeps all the way over to that side. Same thing here with the Carrie Underwood picture, is her hair will sweep all the way over, creating a harder line here. And then we've got the same thing on this side. So a little bit different. We're just compressing it to one side. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways. There we go. And as we work into this compression fringe, this could work in so many different ways. This could be a center line, or it could be a side line. And so I'm going to take a good amount of fringe so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm still moving into that corner. The farther back I go, I still come down into this front side ridge corner. That way I'm never leaving a hole on the heavier side. And we're going to start by working with a softer compression that sweeps a little bit. So if I pull everything over to the softer sides, as this is where I want it to open up, I'm going to pull everything over to the softer side. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my razor. I've got it behind the hair, so the hair is going to turn under. Make sure I got all that. So we're compressing it into this area. So the longer space is going to be on the opposite. Remember, over direction creates opposite weight in the opposite direction. So it still creates a compression fringe because I took it all to one space, but it'll create kind of a sweeping motion. So you get short to long. And I could do that with my scissor, or I could do it with my razor, depending on what sort of frame you want to create. But what if I want a really firm fringe? I want it to sit straight across here, but I want that hair all to be able to reach over. So then I would take my section all the way to the side where I want it to lay. And I'm going to compression cut. Some of that won't quite reach because it was a little too short. But now I'm going to go ahead and take my scissor and I'm going to open it up. So it's going to be straight on this side. But notice that that whole front will carry over to the opposite side. So you really have a lot of option that you can be able to work with, depending on where you want the fringe to open up. Does that make sense? Yeah, cool, I love it. And then of course, one of the things to always keep in mind is, for instance, once I cut that firm fringe, it's a lot harder for me to soften that. So I always go in with my razor first, and then I can firm it up if I need to. But if I don't want it so sharp, I'm going to make sure that I do that razor first. So it just depends on what you're trying to create. But I do like that. It's just a whole different look. It looks like a heavier fringe, but I have that heavy sweep on that side. So cool. And something we can do here is, again, maybe some vertical framing so that we can be able to soften that a bit. Just remove some of that weight. Or we might take our RZ blender. And as I lift, I'm just going to tap, tap, and tap until I soften. But you're still going to see a pretty firm line. So with that, again, if there's any questions, just pop them in the chat box. If you're enjoying it, that's cool too. Let's take a look at what we've got next. So rainbow fringes. So those fringes that really open up in the center. So here's one that I created already. And so as you can see, she's just got that really nice, this would fall into a compression fringe as well. So as we're working through here, and you can see some of these are a little wispier, some of them are a little firmer, just depends on, do you start with your razor? Do you use a scissor? Do you want a harder line? Do you want a softer line? So for this one, all we did is we took everything into the center and then we pinched it all together. And we used our razor underneath to soften it. So when we use the razor underneath, it's going to bevel that hair to turn under a bit. It's going to soften everything on that line. And then if I want to firm it up afterward, we can, but that'll give you that really nice rounded fringe. Let's talk wispier fringes. Wispier fringes are going to be fun that's what I like to wear, is more of a soft and wispier fringe. So I'm going to pull the screen down and we'll go ahead and work through some of our wispier fringes. And we'll even move into some shorter ones. So she dried up a little bit on me. All right, so we'll get her going. And one of the things we're going to work with here, especially if I want a really wispy fringe, is I want to make sure that that hair stays really soft. So we're going to go ahead and just take kind of a rounded section so that she wears it in the center. So we've got that little rainbow section here going into both of the corners, but that fringe comes back about 2 turns on both sides. And I like to use either my tonic or protein cream, or even my Boston Moisture Mist is great for doing a cutting lotion. Anytime we use a leave-in conditioner, you're protecting your tools as well as the hair that you're working on. So what we're going to do here is I want to create a really nice soft fringe. So we're going to divide this into, like 5 little sections, and we're going to do some sculpting. So when I work with my razor, I want to hold it like I would a pencil, and we'll start right in the middle, and I'll take and create kind of that center line. So I'm sculpting on either side into the length that I want to see, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side, and then I'll break through to that middle. So it's going to get really soft. It's going to point a little bit. It's going to create a lot of separation on the middle. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get a little longer because I want maybe that fringe to stay a little longer so you can be nice and creative. And we'll take the third section, same thing, we're working on both sides. So I'm sculpting into the middle and then into the middle length. So you just kind of have to eyeball where that line is. Now on the opposite ends, we're only going to work on the inside. So problem is if that hair is really sparse over here, I might create a big hole on that side. So if you have the hair to do it with, you can. Maybe you're just doing it a little bit just to soften it. And again, we're going to do on the opposite side, we're going to do just the inside and maybe just a tiny little bit on the outside to get that length off. So you can already see how nice and soft this is. And if I want more softness, I could come in vertically as well. I could get a little bit more deliberate with it. And that'll help create a really nice wispy fringe. You can even come back in with your razor blender, and maybe you want a little bit of it to kick out. So we might go in through the top a little bit. And as I place my blender in, notice that it's on an angle and it's going to flip up a little. So that'll encourage it to go up. And you could turn it under as well. Just depends on what you want to see. If I want that hair to kind of kick out a little bit, I'll use that blender to move it up. If I want it to turn under, I can kick it under as well. So, and there you have a really nice soft wispy fringe. Now I have a shorter mannequin head here, if I can find her. There she is. One of the ways that we can create a really nice soft fringe is by rolling our razor. And this is a trick that you want to practice quite a bit before you go and try it on one of your guests, just because it took me a while to get it right. And if you get a little too aggressive with it, you may have a challenge. So I'm just going to take a really sharp little space here, and I'm just working this corner. So when we do a fringe rolling, what we're doing is we're taking our thumb on the bottom, first finger on top. I'm going to find where I want that blade to be. And to practice, if you have a mannequin head to do this with, take the back side of your razor, lift it up and curve that out. Catch with the razor, catch with the razor, and practice with the back end first. And then when you get good at it, then you can start using your front end with the blade. And when you start moving it through, you're going to see you're going to get a really nice soft fringe. And you can be as aggressive with that as you like, or as soft as you like. So you can even come in a little bit on more on a vertical to soften those areas as well. I love to do this through the top of a section, because that's going to really help to soften that frame. Or especially if you want more of a wispier top, we can come right into this area this way. and create some nice softness. So practice that, like I said, on a mannequin head, or somebody who's really willing and wants to shave their head afterward, because then, you know, just in case. But I love that because it just creates that super soft edge for you. And then you can even come back in and start to work. You just become the artist and you just start to see where that needs to soften. And funny is I work both scissor and razor. I tend to do a lot more razor work, especially when I'm working into do any of that extra detailing, just because I like a little bit softer of a look. All right, so what else have we got here for you? All right, so the next one I have up here for you is our curtain fringe. And we're going to share with you the curtain fringe that we're doing in the New Earth collection today on the windswept cut. So I'll walk you through it a little bit, and then if you want to see that again, you can jump on, and then I'll give you another little way you can cut a curtain fringe. So we have this nice triangle that we created up through the top. This is a pretty heavy curtain fringe. Once we have that triangle, we split it in half. We worked the first section first, and we cut on top of the hair so the hair kind of flips out a little bit. And we'll take the center section first. You take your blade on top, take it out to the length and soften it. Then you take the left side and then you work on top, folding it over, softening it to the middle. Then the opposite side comes over. We take it on the top. We soften it that direction. And then when we do the top section, we mirror the very same thing. So we take the middle out. We're elevating just slightly so that, again, it stays nice and soft. Right on top, we fold that left side over on top, and then we fold the right side over on top. So when we dry it, we do very much the same thing. So we want it to kind of go to the middle, we want it to flip out a little bit, and we want it to wing out on the sides. So when we go to dry it, it'll be important to be able to choose the right finishing as well. Now, what I love about this picture in the center, that lovely redhead, hers is a curtain fringe, but it's off to the side, because we always get the question, okay, if I do a curtain fringe, can I make it a side part? Sure. You would just move the line over and you would start your center over the part line and then fold the smaller side and then fold the heavier side. And that will help you to open it up on the side rather than in the middle. So very much like you would do that compression cutting. It's very much the same thing. So let me take this one again. And we'll put hers in the middle for a second. And another great way to do a softer curtain fringe is to find that center part. And again, this could be a side thing too. I'm just taking this very little triangle here in the front. Very little triangle here in the front. So right in the center, again, this will go over the part line. So wherever your part line is, if she's wanting this to be on the side, you can do the side as well. And then we're going to do just a very, very soft fringe. So I would open it up here. I'm going to do it on the longer side. So I would start that middle, and then I would go ahead and I would find where my center is and just even working out to the side. Now notice when I did that I started straight and then I started to flip it out, because with that curtain fringe, it kind of goes down into the middle and then wings out a little bit. When we do anywhere you move your razor, that's where the hair is going to go. So that's why it's so important to always know what direction you want the hair to move. So again, I'm just going to work from my guide straight, and then I'm going to wing it out. So as I start to open it, it's just going to be a very soft curtain fringe. So depending on what you want to create, you have all kinds of options to be able to work with. And I love that because she could still wear it to the center or from the side part and nobody would ever know. So you have some good options. So when we start to style our fringe, we want to think in the same terms of how we're cutting it. We want the hair to move in that same direction. So we need to think about our drying in the same way. So here you can see it's all about base and direction. So I'll make sure that I know how much lift do I want to have within my look. So I'll choose my base accordingly. If I want low volume, I'm going to choose off base. If I want lots of volume, I'm going to choose on base or over direction. And so that will really, really help you to be able to decide how much volume I'm going to get in the crown. Like, I don't like a whole ton of volume in my crown. I'll use it to get it away from my scalp, but the rest of it I sweep back and over so that I can get more of that closer to my head. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Now in this picture on the left-hand side, you're going to see that up at the top, and I'm going to show you this as well, on the right side, you can see we parted from the top and we created pie shapes. So there's a wider space at the front of the head. The weight is going to help me to carry that hair back, whether I want it to be full volume or I want it to really sweep over. This weight is going to help me to push it to the back. When I do it the opposite way, like I did here, I parted from the front corner. So we've got pie shapes this direction. This is that weight's gonna push it all forward. So again, whether I'm on top with the brush or I'm underneath with the brush, it's gonna push it over. And I love this because I have a guest who loves to she comes and sits in my chair, and whenever she does, she always wants to learn a little bit more on how to style her own hair. She is an actor, and she wants to make sure that she has the right look for the right part. So I will share with her things like this. And one day she said, I can't get my fringe to go the way you do it. So I showed her, I said, well, we need to take these pie shapes, and it's just 3 little sections, and then just showing her how to work the brush. She was like, oh my gosh, that was just amazing. So use that too to be able to help work with those guests. One last thing I'll share with you on that before I go into this is for my lovely here, can't see her face now. There she is. So you can see it really falls forward even though I've got it to the side. That's where that part comes in, where we parted from the top, from the front end, and then working with those pie shapes wider at the top, because it's forcing everything to lay down. So whether you want it to sweep or you want it to go under, you can have that heavier side. So brush. So I'll start again here. So I want low volume, I want it to move to the back, and I want a sweep. So I'm going to be on top of the hair and I'm folding it over. I'm working in my next section. I'm taking that low volume, I'm sweeping it over to the opposite side. And you can do this with your round brush or your flat brush, depending on what you want to see. So again, swinging it over, and now it's pushing it towards the back, but everything is coming heavy towards the front because that's where the weight is. So with that, we'll get her out of the way. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about blowout. So with that, we've got the amazing blowout system, and I really love it to be able to get the hair to do what I want, because it has probably the most amazing memory I've ever seen. And you have your shampoo and conditioner, which starts you off and help to prepare the hair. And then you have your primer that is like double-sided stick tape. So you don't see it up there, but I always like to make sure I start out with my leave-in conditioner, and this could be protein cream, it could be Basu moisture mist, it could be repair tonic or awaken mist, but always start out with a leave-in conditioner. Then you're going to use your primer, and then you're going to choose your styling product. And this, of course, could be a surface core styler, so your Reflect Gel or your Swirl or Jump, but it could also then be your memory foam. And your memory foam is a very foamy mousse, so it's more of a slip to it. And we love it because when we go in and take your your brown brush to it, you get a really nice movement and slip with it. So once the hair hits about 75–80% dry, then I come back in with my primer and I hit it with that to begin working through with my brush. But most importantly, when I get to the end of my finish, I want to work with my dry oil spray for that final blast, and then I'll finish it off. But while it's cooling, I'll hit it with the finishing spray. So there's some great options to be able to work. And if you're curling your fringe, utilize that finishing spray as a thermal spray. It's amazing because it's super soft and you don't have a heavy weight to it whatsoever. So I'm going to stop here before I share any more and just see if there's any questions or ahas or anything that you might have learned today that you're really excited about. Don't be shy. Hey, Monica, I see you unmuted. Did you have something?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, just those couple of those things that I actually forgot how to use those techniques. So it was a great reminder. So thank you so much for going over those quick little tips, because that makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. Awesome. Any other questions or ahas?
I just really like the razor working. Some of those are really cool tips, and just like a reminder to not forget about the razor and use it properly.
Right. Awesome. Loving the curtain fringe on a side part. Yeah, perfect. That's a big question we get every time we teach the curtain fringe. They're like, what if they don't wear it in the middle? We'll just move that opening to the side then, or your compression fringe, move it over to the side. So wherever you take that opening or that compression is going to be where everything opens up. So awesome. I love it. All right. Well, let's see. I think there was one more thing here in the chat. Love the framing supporting both sides. Yeah, that's a great one too, just because it reminds us that you don't have to cut a huge fringe, just that little bit of softness helps to support everything else. So very cool. I'm glad you guys enjoyed walking through some of that fringe work. And this is a recorded class, so I will put it up on my YouTube channel and my Facebook page, and it'll be available for later working. Some upcoming education that you might not want to miss. We have a curls certification happening on June 21st. There are still some spots open for that. You get a mannequin head shipped to you so that you can work along with us. So that is a hands-on class. It's about 3 to 4 hours. We put 4 just in case it runs a little longer, but usually about 3 hours. And so we would love to have you there. You learn a lot about the curls product, as well as you learn some cool techniques on cutting curls. And so we will definitely cover some fringe work there for curly hair. Our next pop-up shop will be on July 12th, and we're going to be talking summer waves and beach braids. So just some fun little tips and tricks for healthy summer hair, some beachy waves, some trendy little braids. So it'll be a fun hour there. And then we have Cut It Short, which is a look and learn on Monday, July 19th, where I'll be featuring 2 of our core shorter cuts. So tickets for that are $25. It's a look and learn, so anybody can join that as well. And then putting some food for thought in for a little later in the year, August 23rd, we have a flawless finishing hands-on certification where you'll get a mannequin shipped to you as well, and we'll take you through some core fundamentals of finishing. You'll learn a fun updo, you'll learn a blowout, and you'll learn some iron work techniques as well. And then you have our core cutting workshop. Just in case anybody had seen this before, it has moved to November 15th. So we have changed the date on that, but it's a full day core cutting class. So we will walk you through all 5 of the haircuts. You'll learn tips, tricks, techniques, very fun class, and a full hands-on day of cutting. And last but not least, upcoming education in October. If you're up for vacation or just a weekend away, I know we all are. It's a great time to be able to come and see us at the Global Forum. And we will be there on October 23rd and 24th for Saturday and Sunday. And it's business, it's hair, it's inspiration, new innovation on new products that are coming next year. And it's going to be a ton of fun. So we hope that we will see you there at the Paris Hotel. If you need more information on that, you can reach us at surfacehair.com. It's listed there. You can find information on their Facebook page or Instagram page, as well as you can email me, feel free, or find me on social media too. So I'll leave this page up for you if you need it, but use those resources for your promotion building, for your educational support, and for finding future education with us. So with that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you had a great time. I did. And if you're on the Beauty Connect virtual show today, we'll be teaching that class, the New Earth Windswept Cut and Color. We'll be doing that at 12:15, or is it 1:15 Eastern time? So 12:15 Central, 11:15. Oh gosh, I get so confused. But it's 12:15, 1:15 Eastern time, 12:15 my time. So, and I will see you guys all soon. So thank you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.